I'm Warren Beinart. I'm Managing Director, Advisory Operations at BDO, and this is Smartsheet Unlocked with Productive.
And my name is Rich Coles, Founder and Managing Director of Productive. Welcome to Smartsheet Unlocked, the show designed to help people get the most out of Smartsheet, whether just getting started or already power users, where we bring you insights and real-life examples from Smartsheet everyday users, overachievers, the team developing, and the people within Smartsheet. Ultimately, our goal is to inspire people to achieve better outcomes leveraging the fantastic platform that is Smartsheet to help transform execution and unlock potential, be it organizationally or personally. We've been sharing tips and tricks on YouTube since 2021 and working with fantastic people from around the world, so we thought it was time we brought some of these people to share their stories. I'm delighted to be joined today by Warren Beinart, Managing Director Advisory Operations at BDO and also a member of the Smartsheet Product Advisory Council. I first met Warren 2 years ago at Smartsheet Engage in Seattle after we were introduced by one of his former colleagues, and we've remained in contact ever since. And like many other Smartsheet advocates, we catch up each year at Engage. Now, having just reconnected with Warren at this year's Engage at the start of November, we thought it'd be valuable to share his journey with his insight into Smartsheet for a wider audience. So hence this episode. Warren, welcome.
Thank you, Rich. It's good to see you again outside of Seattle, although it's a snowy, cold day here in Washington, D.C. But it's good to catch up and talk Smartsheet. It's always a fun topic for both of us.
Absolutely. Each year we bump into each other at Engage, and I just love the fact that now we're connecting outside of being in Seattle. As you say, Seattle, they talk about the rain. I'm just outside London, and thankfully today it's not raining, but clearly you've got the snow over with you. We're clearly not in the same place. Where are you at this moment in time?
We're not in the same place. I'm on the East Coast in the United States and just outside Washington, D.C. in North Potomac, Maryland. I'm originally from Cape Town, South Africa, the most beautiful place in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I've been living in the United States for close to 35 years. I came over here in January of 1990. I had family that moved to the Washington, D.C. area. That brought me over and have been here ever since. And my entire family has migrated over to this part of the United States over that time.
I love the fact that I was introduced to you by Yuri 2 years ago at Engage. Yuri, big shout out to Yuri as well, if you're listening. I'm sure you will be. And he spotted you in amongst a crowd. And this is the joy of Engage, in that people bump into people, people meet new people. I've made friends from around the world at Engage each year. And again, we tend to only speak at that time. The fact that now we've been bumping into each other, spent a lot of time last year, and then we came this year. And also, I love the fact that I was able to introduce you to a pile of other people and you introduced me to others at Engage as well. Now, I'd hoped also at some moment we'd get to meet up in London, but you haven't been over here for a while. But you do, I understand, have a few connections in London. So hopefully at some moment you'll be across.
I do. I have family in London and I have very good friends in London. And I have a side business that I work with a couple that I've known for many years. They were based in this area and moved to the UK. And we have a small business called Accessories of Old, where we sell antique jewelry and vintage items and vintage accessories. And shout out to Lisa and John of Accessories of Old. They're down in Fulham in the London area. So that brings me over there every now and then to visit with them and to visit with family. But it's been a while, and I promise the next time I'm there, we will connect and we'll have another chat session like this.
And let's go into the career side then. So you moved 35 years ago into the US. What was the reason for moving to the US? And just give us a bit of a rundown of your career, because I always like to know, how is it someone's got from where they started to where they are now?
Oh, absolutely. I have a computer science background. I studied and I did my master's at the University of Cape Town in computer science, and I worked for Mobil Oil. And originally I was moving to the United States. I was going to move with Mobil to Washington, D.C. because they were moving to the D.C. area. But that was a tumultuous time in South Africa in the late 80s, and many things happened, and that fell through. And I came on my own as an independent and was like, okay, I'm going to see what I can do. And I got into several roles working as a coder, developer, and then moved into project management as a consultant. And I've been doing consultancy for many years. And that kind of got me into eventually using Smartsheet as a primary tool to manage several projects and programs.
So just talk to us a bit about BDO and I guess some of your experience also across different consultancies. A lot of it's been in the financial services sector.
Yes. I joined BDO about 6 years ago, and I was part of one of the small advisory operations sides. BDO is an audit and accounting firm. We always refer to ourselves as the number six because they talk about the big five, and the BDO is like number six, trying to move up into that elite group of the top five. I think we're there, and I think that we shine in that space. But we do a lot of advisory to organizations on project and program management and setup and building solutions outside of the accounting space. So I started my career as a developer many years ago, moved into project management, and I actually worked with some of the large financial and regulatory organizations. I was with NASDAQ for several years. Then I moved over to the NASD, which is the regulatory organization of the NASDAQ stock market. And I was with them for over 10 years. They even evolved and then combined with the New York Stock Exchange and became what's known as FINRA. I worked with them for several years. And then I actually went over to the SEC for about 5 years, which is the regulatory government organization. And I worked with them. And that's when I started getting into program management. I was the program director for a project that grew from about 8 people to 72 over a period of 2 years. So it was a large initiative. I wish at the time I had tools like Smartsheet in order for us to manage it. We did a lot of the work in Excel. We did a lot of the work using Word and writing documents, and we had no way of really communicating with each other. I wish I'd known that then. But then, as I said, I joined BDO about 6 years ago, and that's when my Smartsheet journey began.
Wow. So, like me, I've got a varied background in different sectors. I guess you've been more focused on the financial services sector, but having moved around different places, you get to see so much. And it's about the common theme of working with people. And then it's taking that theme of project management and program management, which you've come into, and saying, how do you get things done? How do you share information? And then it sounds like when you came across Smartsheet, you had that light bulb moment like I did.
Oh, yes.
Let's dive into Smartsheet in a moment. But firstly, what is your role, just to give the context, therefore? And then how does Smartsheet play a role within your role?
My role is working on the advisory side of the organization. I do a lot of internal, in a way, connecting the systems, the disparate systems we have, our ERP system, our CRM, our HRIS system. They're all independent. They have some links, but we need some way of bringing that data together so we can report and strategize across the multiple systems. So that's where Smartsheet played a role. Started off by just writing basic reports and pulling some data. And then that's evolved over these years to become a prominent enterprise-wide tool for the organization.
And so let's roll back to how did you first come across Smartsheet? Were you using it at BDO for the first time, or did you discover it somewhere else and bring it when you started at BDO?
So I had used it at the prior job that I was at. We had one license shared among several people, and all they were doing was using it to manage their RFPs for some government contracts. So basically, they could have done the same thing with Excel, but we were doing it with Smartsheet. No dashboards, no fancy reports, no details. It was just this basic tool. But at least that had an introduction, because then when I came over to BDO, I saw that the tool could be used in so many different ways.
And I think that's the light bulb for many people that, yeah, Smartsheet, some people go, oh, it's just a spreadsheet, it's an online spreadsheet. It is so much more. And we find this day in, day out that we speak to clients or people using Smartsheet and going, I had no idea that it could do this. What led to discovering the dashboards, the reports, which you've touched upon. And I'll be fascinated for you to share your journey from that voyage of discovery, because how do people suddenly realize and have that light bulb moment to then go and grow?
Right. There have been so many projects that have gone on over the last 6 years, but I remember this one distinctly. I had to put together a dashboard, and it had to pull in information from several of our financial systems, as well as some personal information related to people on projects. And they said, oh, we can do this with Smartsheet. And I reached out to somebody who was heavily involved in using Smartsheet at the organization, part of our center of excellence and our community of practice. And we sat down and basically drew things out on a whiteboard. And she said, what do you want to see? And I said, I need to see this and this. I said, okay, let's start. And we literally went step by step. And that was the huge light bulb moment. And I've actually used that when I've taught people how to use Smartsheet. Is take a whiteboard, envision what you want to see, and then build it step by step. And that's the beauty of the tool, is that you don't need to think everything out all at the very beginning. You can slowly but surely build on to what you have. So that was my big light bulb moment is, oh, wait a second. I can actually bring in not only the data, but I can turn this into a chart and I can have a drop down and I can request information from people all in one place and not have to go out and do these things separately. So since then, it's okay. I jumped onto that horse and we literally rode out.
People often say it's like Lego. You've got this kit. And then when you start realizing what the superpowers of each part of the kit is, and then you start assembling them. And I love the way that our business is about helping people do amazing things with Smartsheet. And we hope to inspire people around the world with a YouTube channel, but just go, this is what is the art of the possible. And it is, once you've realized that you've got this sheet, which is incredibly powerful because it talks to other sheets, but then you can have the forms and the information going in, and then these forms go to the reports, which I think are incredible, and then into the dashboards. And you've been talking about community of practice, you've been talking about wider people. You went from reaching out to someone else in the organization who knew about Smartsheet as well. And it sounds like you've got quite a few users at BDO now with Smartsheet.
We have actually grown our footprint over the last couple of years. Smartsheet came into the organization almost like a rogue tool. It didn't go through the proper channels, and all of a sudden people started using it, and then more people started using it. As of now, we have 3,400 licensed users. And I just found out that's going to grow by another 1,100 users because we just went through an acquisition, and the company that we acquired used Smartsheet quite extensively. Over the past year, I've actually assumed the role of product owner for Smartsheet on the business side. IT took over the tool and are managing it as part of our tech stack. It is now one of the largest tools that we're using across the board because of how it can be used for many different functions. Many people still use it as a basic project management tool, but we've started using it as a way to communicate and interact with other users. And that is the beauty of it compared to other software. It allows you to build an interactive environment that you can collaborate in the same space, and you can also determine who needs to see what and when, so that you can make absolutely sure that the right people are seeing the right data and that you're not opening everything up to everybody to see. You can limit that, but yet they can collaborate and work together to build solutions and solve problems.
And to hear something that started out as a rogue tool going in, but what would you put down that growth success to?
The big thing is because many organizations have many different tool sets to operate different parts of their organization. They may have their separate tool. In the past, we were using PeopleSoft for our ERP. We've now moved over to Oracle. We were using several different resource management tools in different parts of the organization. Each practice area was using a different tool. These tools don't talk to each other. That's the big problem. When you need to pull information on an opportunity and on the users that are working on that opportunity and on the schedule and on the activity, you need to go to several different tools and you need some way of bringing that data together. Excel doesn't do that. You can bring in parts of that data, but you cannot collaborate on those multiple tools. Whereas with a tool like Smartsheet, you have many different ways of bringing the data into a common space where people can collaborate and work together. And that's the beauty of it. And you can also reach outside of the organization to request information, to pull information in. I worked on a project during the COVID era when we had an organization that were donating grants. They had reaching out to several countries around the world. We created one form. We sent that form out. They provided us the feedback, and then we could act on that feedback. And those users didn't need to know Smartsheet. They didn't need to know anything about the organization. They weren't touching on any of our data. They were just providing us with the core set of information. Based on that, we could now build applications for them.
So powerful. And as an organization, BDO is all about collaboration. You're a people organization, ultimately professional services. It's about getting work done. And yet the success is when you suddenly realize that one version of the truth, that common source of one version of the truth. The other thing we always talk about is Ohio, only handle it once. And the joy is that when we've gone away from that, Warren, gosh, your career has been longer than my career, but the whole status reports and updates and doing this and filling out all these PowerPoint slides on a weekly basis and filling out things saying what's going on. You don't have to do that anymore because it takes it. And there's the automation side. So yes, I guess the stickiness going from a few rogue licenses in the organization to BDO will clearly say, what's making a difference? How do we operate more efficiently? And has made that difference. Now, you also touched on a fascinating piece here, which is not only is it about bringing information from disparate parts of the organization into a common source of truth, but also the fact that you can collaborate externally. How does that work with Smartsheet?
That's where Smartsheet plays such an amazing role because we have so many different clients. The ability to be able to create your project plan, share that with the client, be able to get feedback from the client, whether it may be documents that they need to provide you and have that stored in a collaborative space, or you need to share information on the status of how a project is going and where things are financially within managing your budget. All of those things, you can do that all in the one space. And the beauty of it is that the external users, we have over 6,000 external users. All of those are considered guests in the Smartsheet world. So there's no cost involved in having them collaborate with you on the application, the project plan, or whatever you may be engaging them with, which is the beauty of a tool because it gives you that ability to reach out and engage with others and still have no additional cost involved, which in some cases you have to license the external users. We can create a space on a dashboard where they can then collaborate back and forth, provide us information, provide feedback, give status update, and we can share that during status meetings. We can share that on a regular daily, weekly basis. That is what makes this such a powerful tool to use.
And it's such a differentiator. I always look at organizations. We've both come from many different organizations, but it's that speed of collaboration, be it with your suppliers, be it with your customers. But we're all working towards achieving positive outcomes for all parties. And one, the speed that you can actually share things within Smartsheet is fantastic. But two, the security that sits within that. Again, where we've got now multi-factor authentication or single sign-on, etc., and how with Smartsheet enterprise grade security that sits within that. Because again, security, your clients, I'm sure, will be saying, hang on a second, we don't want this information shared with anyone else. And there's all sorts of measures that you'll have in place in terms of how do you prevent data leakage outside the organization. And again, these are the factors which make that difference with Smartsheet, how you can prevent all that thing happening, but you can then collaborate and then they can see what's going on. So they're not chasing you. You're focusing on getting the work done, not sending updates to them.
It's 100% right, Rich. And in fact, this year, when we decided that Smartsheet was going to become an enterprise-wide tool and needed to have stronger controls, we actually went through the process of implementing enhanced security. We used multi-factor authentication for our external guest users. We implemented a single sign-on for our internal users. We also implemented a data egress policy. We also implemented a safe sharing policy. So it gives you that ability to put into place tools that helps you lock down the access to both the data and the tool set itself. And there are many ways that these can be improved upon and they can grow. We've learned a lot by working with Smartsheet to help us improve the process. I went through something recently where we built an application to set up our projects, contracts, and client information. We're up to about 13,000 employees. Anybody can go in and set up a project and set up a contract. So how do you manage that? With the tool like Smartsheet, we were able to build a tool that allowed us to include all 13,000 people in a dropdown so they could go in at any time, find themselves and create that instance for themselves. We had to go through the process of bringing in over 156,000 clients. Now, what's nice about a tool like Smartsheet is that when you hit a roadblock, there's usually a workaround that you can put in place. Like any software, there are limitations, but there are ways to work around those limitations. I went on a journey this year where we had to literally push it to the limits on drop-down values, on sheet size, on cell limits. We pushed it, but in every instance, we found a solution which would say, oh, okay, instead of doing it this way, let's split this into two and do two separate lookups because we can differentiate between tax and assurance. That's great. That eliminates some of the issues we're having. Never look at it and say, oh, I can't do this. There's always going to be a way to get around this. And in fact, I have a Smartsheet mug that says, now I'm going to mess quote, but it has something about there's no can do. There's only can do with Smartsheet, something along those lines. I wish I actually had it with me now. I would have held it up, and I drink out of that mug every single day at the office.
And Warren, this is why I was attracted to Smartsheet in the first place, because I realized that I knew what I wanted to achieve. And I realized that with this kit, I can bend and shape it to how I want to. And yes, when you work with fantastic organizations such as yourself, or for example, at Engage, introduce you to Andrew Brader and Chuck Prudente from Emphasis
Yes.
Consulting. And again, they are doing some amazing things. My prior guest was Chuck Prudente, who you shared notes with. And this is the thing, when you start talking to other organizations, say, how are they achieving this? And this is the whole purpose of the podcast. Inspire others, understand what people are doing. People can reach out to you because they find out, but you're also part of the Smartsheet Product Advisory Council. We'll come back to that in a moment. But again, it's about going, how can we do this? And this is also what, as Proactive as a business, don't tell me it can't be done. Tell me what the challenge, what's the outcome, and we'll work out a way. And there will always be a way to do it. And then you refine that process. And this is the power of the Smartsheet community. I've had Alison Clancy and many others, Smartsheet overachievers on the podcast as well. So people listen and go, gosh, there's always someone out there who's had that experience before and will overcome it. And if not, let's go on a journey and discover. And I guess this comes to the Product Advisory Council. Then if it can't do certain things, then you've got that voice into it. So tell us, what is the Product Advisory Council and how did you get to be on the Product Advisory Council?
I'll get to that in 1 second, because I want to go back to a point you just made about the engagement of other users. So you mentioned Chuck and Andrew from Infosys, who you introduced me to at Engage. We've still since had several conversations and spoken about ways that they are building solutions that we want to build similar type of solutions. And it's, let's sit down and talk. Let's share ideas. Let's communicate, which is the beauty of that ability to interact with others and share ideas. And it's the same with what you've done with Productive. You're building solutions that you're able to share with other users and help them grow and solve those problems that are not intuitive. It's how you need to apply something, and we've already done that. So why don't you utilize this tool? I've appreciated that over the years that we've communicated and we've spoken and shared ideas. So that leads me
Well,
into,
I will just jump in, but it's the constant innovation, and that's what excites me. I love
yeah.
it. I'm a sucker, as people might have heard on previous episodes. Present me with a challenge, and unfortunately, I can't say no. And I'm going, how can I solve that? And this is the joy that we'll go, how can we solve it with Smartsheet? And then when might we need some additional tools if it can't?
Yeah.
Then how else can we supercharge it? Also, this is why we've been developing and we launched a Smart Hub by Productive as well, which is our way to say, actually, there's additional things which are then, you can't quite do this natively with Smartsheet, do that. But again, having that community. And again, with Smart Hub, we're going to turn that into a marketplace where everyone can actually share ideas, share information to accelerate the outcomes, because it's all about end user outcomes to make a difference for your organizations. And the fact that you're talking to the team at Emphasis Consulting, I'm going to be connecting with some other organizations as well. And the more people share, it performs for everyone. Everyone just gets better and learns more what you can
Oh,
do. And then that takes us into the Product Advisory Council, because then you're coming back and saying, guys, we're all working on this. Actually, this will be really important to do. So Product Advisory Council, let's get there
yes.
finally.
No, absolutely. This leads into it very nicely. I was invited. It's a group at Smartsheet where they invite several people from several organizations, some of their large business to some of the smaller organizations, constant Smartsheet users. And I had worked with the user group at Smartsheet. I've presented a couple of times. I've presented at Engage to the user group, and I've done some user group sessions. And Claire, who runs now the Product Advisory Council, she reached out to me and she said, I'd love to have you as part of this group. And it's a great way for us to collaborate. We share ideas. They introduce us to new products that are coming out. They invite us to test what they're going through when they go through their beta stage. They invite us to test these tools, provide them feedback. And the good thing is they actually listen and they do take advice. So this is a shout out to anybody that's using Smartsheet or having an issue. Go to the communication boards at Smartsheet and provide that feedback, because they do listen. And the more they hear from their users, the more chance that will get implemented. So the Smartsheet Advisory Council, they meet a couple of times during the year virtually, and then we have an in-person meeting, and that's coming up in January, where we will go to Seattle. There are about 20 of us that are on the team. Some are from organizations like myself at BDO, Mobile Oil, Harvard University. There's Roche. There's several large organizations that are part of that council. You're getting to hear from different sectors and how they're using Smartsheet, and also how they want to see the product improved. So I'm actually going to be presenting at the council on some of the issues that I had to work around in order to get a project and contract setup process working. And I spoke at Engage to the brand new head of products. It was amazing was that you actually had the opportunity to talk to people that are part of the C-suite, and they were listening to what you had to say. And she said to me, what you're doing is so innovative. I need you to share that with everybody else. I said, well, I'm going to be at the council meeting in January. I'll present that. And she says, absolutely. People need to know that there are ways to get around things. Or if you're hitting a stumbling block, let's address those and see if we can improve. I also had a conversation with the new CIO. We sat down and spoke for about half an hour. And then we met up again at one of the cocktail hours. And he was like, to hear your pain. I know what you're going through from an IT standpoint. And we've got a brand new approach. And this is what we're going to be doing. Where do you have that opportunity to sit down with those people, direct one to one, and be able to share ideas and then have them listen to you and implement those ideas? So I'm really excited. It's only been a couple of months that I've been on the council. I joined in the late summer. This will be my first in-person meeting in January. Rich, I will provide you feedback afterwards to tell you what's going
Yeah.
down and what are the new features that are coming out.
Yeah. And that's a testament in that Smartsheet, gosh, from when it was first founded as a smart sheet to what it's become is because of the passion of all the users, all the customers, and what people have been able to create with it. Absolutely, the growth of Smartsheet is listening, it's understanding, meeting those requirements, hearing how people are, creating workarounds, and then going, actually, this would be easier for others. Not everyone has the resilience to keep pushing and creating and finding solutions. Some people go, yeah, it's too hard. I'm going to go somewhere else. So then the more Smartsheet hears about the challenges, he goes, oh, actually, is that possible? Lots of people want that. So that's the Product Advisory Council. And actually, in the same way, Warren, so I'm part of the partner Product Advisory Council. And what's fantastic there is, you know, much as you represent 3,400 people in BDO. So you'll have seen all the different cases and then how you interact with your clients. So you're able to represent many different viewpoints. In the same way as Productive, we work with some fantastic organizations around the world. And I'm listening and going, well, if only it could do this or that. And so we represent, and then my counterparts on other partner organizations, on the Product Advisory Council, they're doing the same. So again, Smartsheet's listening, taking this and saying, how can we improve the tool? Because yeah, it's only as good as the utilization from its users and is making that innovation. So I love it that you're finding that there. Now, let's just roll back into the BDO world, therefore. Having gone from the Rogue to the 3,400 users, the growth of that. So internal community of practices, internal advocates, user groups. You touched on the user group, i.e., this is the Smartsheet community, where you've gone to events where lots of other organizations are there. But talk us from the external into the internal, because, yeah, things can go off in many different directions if it's uncontrolled with an organization. I'd love to hear about how you help inspire others, but also keep that level of control as well.
That's a great point. We actually had a pretty robust community of practice at BDO prior to COVID. We kept it going for a while, but we also changed our account executives at Smartsheet changed because we moved to a large organization. And so we had different people representing us. So our own internal community of practice quietened down. And we're going to be building that back up in the new year because now we have so many different users using Smartsheet across the board in many different ways. And I don't have a handle on all of them. So what we used to do is we'd have a monthly meeting. We would invite a couple of users within the firm to present their use case, to tell us how they're using Smartsheet, what are they doing, what advantages, disadvantages are they hitting when they're building their solutions, and how are they helping the clients. We would also have somebody from Smartsheet who'd come and introduce a new tool, a new option, or even walk some people through, oh, today we're going to talk about data mesh. And then they'll spend 10, 15 minutes talking about one of the premium applications or where Smartsheet is going, re-engage with the users to tell them that, yes, there's Smartsheet University out there. Yes, there are ways for us to communicate. And I want to re-engage. In fact, I'm going to get you, Rich, to come on once we get this going in the new year to come and talk to people, because you've built a great space on YouTube with your videos and now with Smart Hub. I would love to have you talk to the rest of the team, because I'm sure that there are tools that you've developed that we can utilize. And there may be tools that we've developed in-house that we can utilize, we can add to your Smart Hub. So
Warren, thank you. I would love to. I think everyone who knows me, I get a bit passionate about sharing what is the art of the possible with Smartsheet to be able to be invited in. And the bits we touch on here is there's so much that you don't know it could do this. And so where I get excited is just showing something to someone. They go, my goodness, I didn't know I could do that. But now I understand I could. I can use it for all these other applications. And that's what really excites me. And so the benefit of a community of practice is inspiring, unlocking that creativity. And as you've said, BDO, you've got so many talented people and it's leveraging that power. And this goes to the choice of actually, what times do you need lockdown processes? There's a certain way of doing it. And so we've locked things down versus actually with these tools, go and solve some problems for driving greater efficiency in your part of the business. And I guess that's how it just took off in the organization. That different parts of the business said, we've got these inefficient ways of working using all these disparate tools. Let's bring it together. Boom. And then it's sharing those ideas, at which point then the whole organization gets stronger. So the power of a internal community of practice or the internal advocates is incredibly powerful. And I know that's what you're talking with the Emphasis Consulting team of how do they have their ambassadors within, etc., and just getting people to share those ideas because you learn from others, hence the podcast.
I know, absolutely. Oh, and I love the idea of the fact that you have this podcast going where people are able to listen and share and hear what others are doing. And you learn so much just from hearing what somebody else's journey has been. I love that the fact that you're doing this. And I thank you very much for having me on because I could talk about Smartsheet all day, every day, because I know the value. And I had this internal fight with myself because I'm sitting down with others and they're saying, we could do it using this. And I said, oh, we could do it, build it so much better and so much quicker and easier if we use Smartsheet. And we, and in this part of the organization, we have to use ServiceNow to do this. So we have to use something else.
I think many of the Smartsheet overachievers and actually many Smartsheet users are going, people go, are you paid by Smartsheet? It's like, no, but this is the power that people go, but just give me a moment. Let me show you what it could do. And people go, I didn't realize. And I guess where I was going to go actually is you talk about the value. I'd just loved if you could just share a couple of examples of because it's not about Smartsheet, actually. Smartsheet is the enabler, but it's about the outcome. In Productive, we always talk about outcomes. I'd just love to, for people listening, go, what are some of the outcomes that you've achieved? Where's it made a difference in the organization to your interactions, be it with clients or internally?
Oh, no. And some of the solutions that we built, I mean, one of the big things is the ability to set something up quick and easy to interact with other users. So you create a form, you gather that data together, and you can start acting on that data right away. And I keep talking about this project contract and customer setup process that we built. We built this back in the summer. And over that period of time, I think we have already gone through and added about 10 to 12,000 different setups during that period of time. It's utilized across the firm. We now have what's known as a centralized process for our setup. So they wanted to keep everyday users out of the ERP. So we have a centralized team that are offshore that do the actual setups. So we needed a way to be able to communicate, get the information from the users and provide that information to the centralized team so that they can go and do the complete setup and sign off and get access to the tool. And we built this process that simple form. It's actually not a simple form. It's got lots of many legs and offshoots. And that's another thing, beauty about a tool like Smartsheet is that you can create these forms that have logic built into them, that you can gather the information that you pertain specifically to certain questions. You don't need to inundate somebody with the entire form right at the very beginning where they feel intimidated. You can provide step by step just the information you need. But from there, we actually build a PDF document from all the information's collected. It's now formatted in a way that we can then send off. It's an automated process. So it happens automatically, goes into the inbox or goes onto a dashboard for the assignee that's offshore to pick that up and say, okay, I've got all the information I need. I don't need to go back to the user, ask any questions because everything has been resolved through the form. And they can go in and they can do their setup. They can mark it complete. And the user sees on their dashboards like, okay, I submitted this yesterday. It's currently in the hands of, and they know exactly who the assignee is. And then once it's complete, they get it marked and say, okay, here's your project code or here's your contract code. And it's all done through one process. And that is the beauty of it, is that you do not need to worry about sending an email to somebody to say, has this been submitted? Where is it in the process? I haven't heard anything. Who's working on this? All of that information is right there in front of you. You log into the dashboard. And again, one of the beauties of Smartsheet is I can log into my dashboard and I can see the 6 or 7 of those 10,000 tasks. I can see the 6 or 7 that I set up today or yesterday, and where are they and what status are they in and when are they going to be completed. And I know exactly who to reach out to if there is an issue. And and that is the overall beauty of the tool.
The time that alone will have saved. If you think of, gosh, yes, I remember training sessions of how to use ERP sessions or putting information into various expenses portals or requesting things, and they can be pretty painful. And as you say, with Smartsheet, you can design a simple interface, which is simple to use. Yes, there can be some complexity, but actually it's very simple and seamless, and the ability to see everything. I think that's incredibly powerful to then set up the offshore team to get it right first time. Again, it's trying to get to right first time that information. And if the information is missing, you look back quickly, but it's not lost in emails. Again, there's a dashboard and you can see the progress at any one moment in time. Warren, I did interrupt you. Was there anything else?
One of the things that we haven't really touched on is the control center function. A couple of years ago, I built a project management tool for our assurance clients. There were about 200 clients added to this blueprint. We could build one single blueprint, which included the input form, reports, dashboard sheets, several different dashboards, the personal dashboard, the portfolio dashboard, all packaged nicely together. Then we could add one client at a time. And with a touch of a button, all their information is added into this blueprint. They have their own instance. It looks like you've built this just for me, yet you've built it for 200 other people at the same time. And there is only one tool, one template that they're using. They're all using that same tool set that was built out. And that's the beauty of this. I want to build this tool set and be able to share that with clients to say, okay, I've got some tools that you could use to manage your practice all in one space and manage your own teams and give you the ability to be able to track their performance, to track where they are, to track the status. So you can build a process that works backwards from the final date of the final deliverable. 2 months beforehand, you need to have this in place. 2 weeks beforehand, you need to have the sign off. So you can build that overall interactive process and you can monitor it so that when something is coming due, you can send out a reminder to say, oh, by the way, this needs to be signed off by Friday because otherwise we're going to be marked as late. Build that interactivity through automation and create a clean process. And if people use it right, it will save them tons of time.
And absolutely, Smartsheet enables you to industrialize that process. As you speak about Control Center, so yes, we've got some videos on Control Center within the YouTube channel. There's plenty of information about Control Center, but it's automation at scale for a repeatable process. Now, Warren, in terms of thinking through, you're saying another 1,100 users might be coming onto the platform. You already got 3,400. Any other plans for Smartsheet within BDO as you see where it's going to? I think you mentioned to me that the UK business is potentially going to start using it pretty soon as well.
Yes, in fact, they've started using it already. BDO is a global organization and we have presence in, I think it's 180 different countries. I may be wrong, but it's close to that number. And we were trying to get the tool into the hands of some of our other member firms. I was working with BDO UK for several years, teaching them how to use Smartsheet, getting them onto the platform. And they finally realized that this is something they absolutely need. So they jumped on it and I'm working with them and collaborating and building some tools for them to manage their own client engagements, building maturity models for them, building dashboards and being able to allow them to collaborate. And they've caught on really quickly. And I hope to do the same with some of the others. But in addition to that, I want to build some tools that I can share with our clients, that I can share with some of the other organizations that we collaborate with. Smaller organizations that may not have the footprint of 3,400 users, but they may have 10, 15 users. Well, build the same tools that we're using in-house, they can use, and they'll find that it will help in so many different ways because they'll be able to utilize just this one tool to do a lot of the functionality. So that's where I would like to see us go in the new year, is start spreading it outside of the organization and helping some of our collaborators utilize the functionality we've built.
And Warren, if that means it brings you across to the UK finally, to London, then I'll be delighted because that's what we've been planning for a long time. Delighted to hear that. And as you say, it's get it into the hands of other people, inspire them what they can achieve, and then suddenly it makes all that difference. So I'm now going to move to the questions I ask everyone. You've touched on a fair bit of this, but just distill it down. Advice for someone first starting with Smartsheet. What's your key suggestion?
Oh, I think I touched on it right at the very beginning of a conversation, is think out your process, whiteboard it, and do not attempt to solve everything in one fell swoop. Build it using Lego blocks. Build a sheet. Figure out where the data is coming from. Load that data into the sheet. And it's very easy within Smartsheet. You can turn an Excel, import it into a Smartsheet, and you have it ready to go. Or if it's coming from another source, you have Data Shuttle to bring that data in. So get the data into the sheet and then determine, what do I want to see? And say, oh, okay, I'm going to need to calculate certain things. I may need to create some extra columns in order to do that. And so think step by step. Don't go and say, I need to see this dashboard and I need to see everything all in one place. Put out on a whiteboard, figure out where things are going to go on that dashboard, and then build each of those separate components separately. That's my absolute advice to anybody, is don't feel intimidated. And if you run into a stumbling block, there's so many sources out there, Rich being one of them, that's got many YouTube videos on how to do something. Smart Hub will have some of the functionality you may not have, but reach out, because if you go online, you'll find that there's so many people that have run into the same thing that you're running into, and they'll have a solution for you.
Thank you. Bite-sized chunks and be agile, like it is,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
connect together. It doesn't have to be the prettiest solution at the beginning, but then it comes together. Just make sure you can achieve it. For people who are building, going from one user in an organization to 3,400, what's your advice of building success in an organization and getting it to take off?
That's actually a very good question, because it's something that we had to solve over the last year or so. Because people all thought, oh, in order to use Smartsheet, I have to be a licensed user to do that. And you don't. You can build applications and you can provide them to others where they can collaborate, they can see the dashboard, they can update through dynamic views, they can answer information through a form, and they do not need to be licensed to do that. And that helps you grow the presence, because they start using it and they say, I now need to be able to build a similar thing. And that's when you can say, okay, in that case, then request a license so that you can be a developer and you can actually build the tools. So that's one thing that I would say, take a look at your footprint. Not everybody has to be licensed in order for them to go and update data on a sheet. If you've created a dashboard with a dynamic view, they do not need to be licensed, and they can provide you all the information. They can see everything they need to see, and you can collaborate together. Start small. Have 2 or 3 people that know how to use the tool, build the tool set, and then branch out and say, okay, now you can go ahead and build your own, and we'll give you a license to do that.
It clearly is worked very well at BDO, that's for sure. And see, your favorite feature within Smartsheet?
There's so many, but I think the favorite thing about Smartsheet is the collaboration, the ability to be able to work with external, internal users, provide them with a dashboard that gives you all the information, and allow them to make updates directly on the dashboard. There are other tools that build great, fancy dashboards. They provide you the information, but they don't provide you the ability to go in and update directly on the same screen. And that's the thing that I like about Smartsheet, is you can compartmentalize pieces of information. You can provide information to people that they just need to see what they need to see. They do not need to see everything. You don't need to open the curtains and show them everything that's behind the scenes. You can just give them what they want. So that's one of my favorite functions about Smartsheet, is that the ability to provide that collaborative workspace.
Single version of the truth, live 24/7. If it's been done, it's there and it's updated. And you are on the Product Advisory Council, so I'm sure you're giving this some feedback already, but magic wand, what item when you go to the Advisory Council in January will be saying, guys, can you just deliver this for me, please?
One of the big things is the sheet size. They have finally introduced an option, table view, which allows for larger sheets, but we still have some limitations. And Excel, you can have sheets with 1 million rows if you needed to. We need to get to the same space with Smartsheet, because that's a big issue, hitting that limit. It's not necessarily row limit, because with table view, you can have up to 1 million cells, but it's only 50,000 rows max. It's 20,000 rows right now. What if I had to look up table and it's only 1 column or 2 columns? Why can't I have 100,000 rows at 2 columns? That's 200,000 cells. my limit is 500,000 or with table view up to 1 million. It's still at max 20,000 or 50,000 rows. That's something that I'm running into right now. That's on the table for me to bring up when we meet with them.
Yeah. And I know that Smartsheet's been working on that really hard to increase the scale of those limits, because organizations such as yours and other very large organizations have a lot of data, millions of rows. So it's going there. And you'll be obviously pushing that very much in January. Well, Warren, that kind of brings us to a close of my questions today. Any other shout outs to people or anything else you'd like to share before we close?
No, it's just, I hope that people who are watching this or listening to this or go back and look at some of Rich's other podcasts that he has put out, collaborate, reach out to other people. If you have any questions, I have never had a problem with somebody coming to me and saying, oh, I'm stuck on this. I need to do this in Smartsheet. Can you help me? I'm always open within the organization and outside the organization. I met with some people at Engage and told them that, hey, reach out to me because I think I've done what you're looking to do and I can help you. And so that's one thing that I think is great about the community and the environment. And Rich, certainly over the years, talking to you, engaging with you, learning about what you're doing. When you first introduced me to some of the things you were doing, I was like, whoa, that's like out there. I'll never be able to build like solutions like you're doing. But you get there. Eventually you get there. And so don't be intimidated. It's a great tool and it gives you the ability to start small and grow.
Fantastic. Warren, thank you. And I think in terms of getting in touch with you, you'll be on the Smartsheet community, no doubt. And also LinkedIn. You're happy, I think, for people to connect with you on LinkedIn. So that's also a great way to connect. Brilliant. Warren, I will put your LinkedIn information in the show notes for this. But Warren, on that note, thank you. You've been incredibly generous with time. I love the fact that this has given me another opportunity to connect with you outside of Seattle. And I'm very much looking forward to you arriving in London as well. But Warren, for your time today and for your generosity of sharing and for everything you're doing out in the Smartsheet community, thank you.
Thank you, Rich. And thank you for providing us the ability to share ideas and communicate. Absolutely. 2026, we will be in London and we will go for a brew or two and share our journey to further our journey together.
Brilliant. Thank you. So there we have it. Warren Beinart, Managing Director of Advisory Operations at BDO. I hope and I trust you got a lot out of that, in particular hearing Warren's journey, going from rogue users within an organization to actually having a community of 3,400 users and growing. And it's that inspiration of taking it and going from how can we improve this process to change across organizations and how he's now collaborating externally with the clients at BDO and then reach out to other organizations. I really hope that gives some inspiration for other users of Smartsheet to look and go, how can we take some of this, and whilst your organization might be a lot smaller or might be the same size, actually there's always something to learn. And as Warren says, please feel free to reach out and get in touch with him to see how we can. And thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for being part of the Smartsheet community. We hope here at Productive that we are inspiring people with some of what is possible within Smartsheet. And that goes to you transforming, one, your execution organization, and two, your own potential as well. Now, any questions for Warren, please do reach out to him. And any questions for us at Productive, please do reach out to us. We're always delighted to hear if we can help you in any way. Otherwise, watch out for the next podcast. Thank you for joining us, and bye for now.